Enjoy hours of exclusive content and the feeling of power that you get from holding my channel's fate in your hands when you support The Habit at patreon.com/doseofbuckley. In the first Matrix movie, the character, Mouse, trying to get Neo to take his glorified virtual prostitute program for a spin, says, "To deny our own impulses is to deny the very thing that makes us human." I'd love to see that quote used in a courtroom to defend the behavior of some sicko, like that woman who only got 60 days in jail for banging a 13-year-old. Your Honor, she was just being human. To deny those impulses would actually make her less than one. But no. I often feel like the thing that makes us humans, at least civilized humans, is fighting those more animal impulses. The ones that make you want to fucking fight everything that moves. But when you become rich and famous, some people seem to think, I'm above all that. I don't have to fight those impulses anymore. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Like they're all Homelander, before the boys, aka cancel culture, came to ruin all their fun. Yeah. Think about the show from that perspective, huh? And while there are plenty of stories about celebrities abusing their station in life, doesn't it kind of seem like we hear a lot about the sexual deviancy of comedians lately? Sure, I bet you can come up with a bunch of examples from other celebrities or other rich people in general. And you will, right here in the comments section, because everyone loves to what about everything to death. And there's a good chance I don't think they're good people either. But it just feels like a large amount of comedians over the last several years have been exposed as creeps. And I have a theory about that. But first, let's talk about those creeps. The latest is Dane Cook, who turned 50 this year, and recently got engaged to his longtime girlfriend, 23-year-old Kelsey Taylor. Wait, how long is long time? Well, conveniently, Dane officially started dating Kelsey when she was 18, but he's made statements that they were friends for a while, and a woman by the name of Tracy Egan Morrissey did a deep dive of his Instagram where she found posts about his game nights that he would host, which routinely included young teenage girls, some as young as 14. While some say he might have known Kelsey as early as when she was 15, it's confirmed that she attended one of these game nights with Dane when she was 17. Listen, I've talked about this before. I don't have a huge problem with age gaps, and I believe it minimizes adult women to suggest they're too dumb to make decisions for themselves when they date an older dude. But when you're setting a countdown clock as to when you can fuck them, no. Just no. In fact, in general, if you knew someone as a minor when you were an adult, that should be a no-go. Like, say you were a teacher, and you taught a girl when they were 14. For an entire year, you were their teacher. And then 6 years later, you bump into each other. They're 20, and you're whatever the fuck you are at that point. Somewhere between your late 30s to maybe your 50s. You know what you should do? Not try to fuck them. You have history with them as a kid. That's fucking weird. Yeah, it's legal. He made sure of that. It's gross. He was absolutely hanging out with teenage girls and saw them as potential future girlfriends. Well, let's go down the list, maybe a little quicker, of other comedians we know have been accused, been convicted, or have flat out admitted to weird shit. From the creepy to the full out illegal. Let's start on that end of the spectrum. Of course, we all know about Bill Cosby now, the man you don't want bartending at your bachelorette party. While his transgressions happened in some cases decades ago, the general public had no idea about them until 2014, when Hannibal Buress joked about it. Before that, he was the template for the wholesome TV dad, and one of the most beloved stand-up comics of all time. Now, he'll be forever known as the guy who drugged women and slipped them his Jell-O pudding pop while they were unconscious. Jerry Seinfeld kind of flew under the radar for years about the fact that he had a relationship with a 17-year-old girl. In the 90s, people just joked about it. Haha, Jerry's dating a girl that can't even get into most of the clubs that he did comedy at. But now we look back and go, oh, no, that was just bizarre. He would eventually marry 28-year-old Jessica Sklar when he was 45, which again, I don't have an issue with. She was an adult. He didn't know her as a kid, so we're all good. The 17-year-old, that was weird. There's the Chris D'Elia shit, which never went to court, so all of it remains accusations only, but he was accused of some shit with underage girls, including one girl who shared DMs from when she was 16, and a whole thing about a 17-year-old who he went back and forth Snapchatting nudes to, though that lawsuit was dropped. But he did basically confirm a story where he jerked off in a woman's car while she was driving him home, and she wasn't too thrilled about that. He posted a very generic apology video saying that sex controlled his life, but that everything he did was legal. Yeah, lots of people make apology videos when they didn't really do anything wrong, right? And since we're on the subject of guys jerking off in front of women, there was the whole Louis C.K. thing. Louis has been very open about this, saying, yeah, these women who accused me of telling the truth, I brought them up to my room, I thought I had their consent to jerk off in front of them, they felt I didn't, and I'm sorry. And Aziz Ansari had his career put on hold after an 18-year-old woman, yes, legal, I know, detailed a date in which Aziz, 34 at the time, basically threw himself at her and continued to kiss and touch her, despite her pulling away and saying she didn't want to feel forced. And eventually, she went along with it just to get it over with. Now, obviously, I'm not saying these are all equal. I'm not. Because I know some goof in the comments is gonna go, oh, you think Aziz Ansari getting blown by some girl who just couldn't say no and walk away is the same as Cosby? Or Louis jerking off when girls said yes, even if they regretted saying it, is what? The same as Harvey Weinstein? And no, I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying that anyone should be canceled. If they've truly done nothing illegal, and if people want to see them perform, let them. What I'm saying is, it's varying degrees of creepy behavior, and it's coming from comedians. Why? Well, that brings us to my theory. You see, comedians, growing up, in high school, they're the class clowns, usually losers. They become comedians to cope with the fact that they didn't really have a great life growing up. Maybe a girl said, "You're funny," to them once, and then they went home and rubbed themselves raw thinking about that. But funny on its own doesn't get you laid, especially when you look like Louis C.K. or Jerry Seinfeld in high school. So then, they become comedians, and for years they're doing shows for like 50 people in a shitty nightclub, and they still aren't getting any. Then, they become famous, and it all starts happening at once. It's like a poor person winning the lottery. No fucking idea what it's like to actually have money, so they start doing stupid shit with it, thinking it'll never run out. And next thing you know, they're back to where they started, flat broke and living in a trailer. So these guys get famous and they go, "Oh, I'm famous. That means every woman will want to fuck me." And yeah, maybe some do. Lots of star fuckers out there. Let them come to you. But the assumption that all women will want them eventually gets them into trouble. And then, I don't know what draws some of them to go younger and younger. Is it like these guys who grow up poor, then get a decent job and go out and buy toys from their childhood that they never had? Like some sort of unrealized nostalgia? Oh, my parents couldn't afford an N64 when I was a kid, so I went and bought one to experience that for the first time. Oh, teenagers wouldn't fuck me when I was in high school, so now that I'm rich and famous, I've got to go see what that would have been like. And that's not just a comedian thing. I think it happens way too often with celebrities or people who think they're celebrities too. They treat normal people like toys, playthings for their amusement. So guys, don't listen to Mouse. To deny those impulses isn't to deny the very thing that makes you human, it's to deny social media an excuse to end your career. But you know, maybe there's a new idea for a streaming show here. Comedians who are creeps getting coitus. Jerry and Dane can take a 1987 IROC Z down to a nearby high school just before last bell, see if they can give any of the girls on the senior cheerleading squad a ride home.